The founder of the African Women in Dialogue and former First Lady Zanele Mbeki says dialogue fosters peace in conflict-ridden areas by creating understanding with diverse groups. A number of women from across the African continent and beyond are attending the dialogue. It comes as the African continent is battling with a number of conflicts. SABC News reporter Khayelihle Khumalo joins us now from Boksburg in Ekurhuleni. Khayelihle, of course, you've been stationed there for the better part of today. I would imagine, given the situation in the DRC, where again women and children, we are seeing them fleeing their homes, of course, must probably be one of the highlights of the conference today. But just unpack what is happening there.
Well, precisely, Nati. Quite a very critical moment for the African women. Really are represented here from over 50 countries, but also really the diversity in terms of the issues that are being explored. And of course, the issue of peace and security is a very, very key issue, especially when you're talking about the respect of the human rights. I mean, a very concerning situation in the eastern parts of the DRC. So quite a number of the delegates that you've spoken into, they've really condemned what has happened. They're calling for a long-lasting peace to be achieved in that part of Africa. But obviously, I mean, it's not just about peace and security. It's a myriad of issues, the economic inclusion of women, but also other issues as well. But to really just elaborate further, Nati, we're joined by AFWID Steering Committee member, but also she's a leader for Anglophone, Lusophone in West Africa. Chinyere, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.
Lovely. Let's talk about the importance of this gathering. I mean, obviously, it's a lot of issues facing women in Africa. I mean, very concerning situation, whether you're talking about the gender-based violence and many other issues as well. You know, the financial exclusion and other challenges as well.
Well, if you want to talk about issues affecting women in Africa, I'm sure if we start now, we can't finish it till evening. However, AFWID is a dialogue that seeks to have all women from 55 countries of Africa in one space, talking about issues plaguing them individually, collectively, regionally. And AFWID is non-hierarchical in the sense that every woman is allowed to come, every woman has a voice, and your voice will be heard. For AFWID, really, we're looking at more of the marginalized women because these are the women who don't have anybody to speak for them. Even when they speak, their voices are not heard. So when they come here, they speak, their voices are heard, and we take these recommendations back to where we're supposed to take them for the feedback. So AFWID actually is a space where to talk about issues plaguing her and her society.
Chinyere, a very important year. I mean, we're looking at the Beijing Declaration for a call of action in terms of the empowerment of women, making sure that in all aspects, really, they're well represented. How are we doing on that front as the African continent?
Well, you know, when the Beijing whatever held in 1995, we had 12 critical points that we looked at. And so this is Beijing plus 30 years after Beijing. Where are the women today? Out of the 12 critical points, I don't think I want to enumerate all of them, but we haven't done well. We haven't done well at all. It looks like we take a step forward, we take 10 steps backward. If you look at the regions today in Africa, you have war, the girl child is not empowered, lack of access, the girl child is sexually violated, the girl child is domestically violated, and so many other issues. So I think that we have taken 10 steps backwards. We haven't really done well in that area. So the essence of this dialogue is that we come and review these critical areas, take recommendations, and then take it back to ensure that when we get back home to our countries, we can actually implement some of these things for the change that we're looking for, because we haven't done well on any of these fronts.
Before we let you go, Chinyere, we cannot let you go without talking about those women in Congo, those women in Sudan, those women in South Sudan even, where we still have strife, we still have conflict, we still have them internally displaced. A lot of them really facing all these challenges and really just contending with all of this at once.
Well, if you look at Africa, across the geographies of Africa, most of the regions, you have this conflict. But the ones of Sudan, Congo, Somalia, they're particularly hurtful to the fact that the women are displaced. They can't even do anything meaningfully. They have no access to anything. They're more or less stateless. And if I take it home to Western Africa, let me take Nigeria, for instance. We also have things like displacement of women. Maybe in the northern part of Nigeria, I'm sure you've heard about this, what you call the Boko Haram. They kidnap women for maybe months. You don't get to hear about it. Domestic violence. Just last week, we had a case in Nigeria. A man poured gasoline on his wife and burnt her, and she died. The same last week, we took another woman who was, differently abled on a wheelchair, was also burnt. Just last week, we had another man who cut off the hands of his wife. So you see, from country to country in Africa, women are truly suffering. So we need to find solutions to these lasting problems.
All right. Chinyere, thank you so much indeed. So, Nati, quite a number of issues really facing women in the African continent. And this is one of the platforms really to make sure that they get under one roof, ventilate those issues. And of course, we spoke to the former First Lady, Mrs. Zanele Mbeki, and she was saying this is almost like a Davos gathering type where women really do have a platform, where the agenda is being led by the African women, where also there is quite an equal treatment, where whether they're from the grassroots levels to the former presidents to many other as well in terms of the guest here. But with that, back to you in studio.